discussed the wild card weekend and made our predictions for the divisional round, and we got 6 out of 6 correct for the divisional round. Unfortunately, one of those I did not want to get right. I wanted to get wrong, and I did get it right, unfortunately, but we will talk about that a little later on. But we are going to go ahead and start here to the left with the 49ers versus Seahawks. Now, I did pick the Seahawks to win, and man, did they. They demolished the 49ers. The 49ers didn't even get a single touchdown in this game, which is wild. I guess it's not that wild considered they were missing George Kittle and didn't have many offensive weapons outside of Christian McCaffrey. And if you know, the 49ers' number one threat is Christian McCaffrey, and you're a defense as good as Seattle is, it's pretty easy to shut him down and not have to worry about it. So if you can shut him down, you can win the game. And that's exactly what they did. They shut him down. And yeah, it was just a slaughter from the get-go. They started off the game with that kick return, and they never looked back. So the 49ers got demolished. Sam Darnold looked good. So they are a scary team. If Sam Darnold is on, they are a scary team, just with how dominant their defense is. So yeah, we'll see. We will see. Moving on over, we have the Rams versus the Bears. This was one of the best games of the weekend. Well, not really, actually. It was actually pretty boring leading up to the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter was very exciting, but before that it was pretty bland. Both teams were pretty sloppy. The Rams couldn't get anything going offensively. The Bears had some stuff here and there, and they got a couple drives going. I think that was due to the weather, but the fourth quarter, it got exciting, and that last Bears drive to lead it into overtime. Now I was cheering for the Rams. I had picked the Rams to win. But that last Bears drive, when Caleb Williams was getting rushed, he was running back, it was fourth down. I'm like, game over. Game over. This is where they stop him. And he came alive and found, was it Cole Kmet in the end zone? Poor defense by that defensive back for the Rams. And just an incredible play by Caleb Williams to keep it alive. And then you go into overtime. Bears have the ball. They're driving it down the field. Game in the bag. They're almost in field goal range. They just need to make a few more plays. And for some reason, I don't know why, it's beyond me. I'm happy they did, but they took a deep shot. There was no need to take a deep shot, and they took a deep shot. It looked like DJ Moore pulled up short. He stopped running. It looked like a miscommunication, or he did the wrong thing. Either way, it ended in an interception. Rams get the ball, drive down the field. Field goal by the thicker kicker. And game over. Rams move on. Again, I don't know why they didn't need to take the deep shot. They were tearing up the Rams by doing the short passes. They were gaining momentum, or they weren't gaining it. They had the momentum, and they were moving the ball pretty easily. So why Caleb Williams decided to take a deep shot that was unnecessary is beyond me. I don't know if that was decision. Either way, heartbreaker for the Bears there. I know the Bears were pretty. That stadium just went dead silent when that interception took place. It was incredible just how silent it went. And the Rams got the dub, so the Rams moved on. I picked the Rams to win. So yeah, it was a good game, or a good fourth quarter. But so the Rams move on. So in the conference championship for the NFC division, it'll be Rams versus Seahawks. Rams versus Seahawks, and in the NFC conference, not division. My bad, but NFC conference. Now we move on to the AFC, and we have the Texans versus Patriots. This game I didn't watch. I didn't really watch this game or the 49ers and Seahawks game. But it seems like the Patriots were pretty well in control the majority of the game. It seems like CJ Stroud had a pretty bad game, and he's been getting a lot of flack for this game. And I think some of it's warranted. 4 picks in a game is tough to overcome, especially when you have a defense as good as your defense. But hopefully he'll learn and grow from it. His end of the season press conference, where he didn't necessarily. He was basically saying the defense is so good now that he doesn't have to play superhero ball or play Superman ball, and he's trying to adjust to that game style or that game. That's just wild to me, man. Like, that's just digging yourself in a deeper hole. It just seems like, and that's been the stories. Like, people are like, he's blaming his defense for being good, and that's why he's bad all of a sudden. And I don't think that's what he meant by it. I think he just chose very poor words, and he didn't really think about what he was saying. But claiming that your defense is too good, and now you don't have to play superhero ball to get them out of it is the reason why you played bad or whatnot. That's wild to me. So the Texans defense is pretty good. I don't think it definitely didn't help that they didn't have Nico Collins in the game, and their run game wasn't that great. But that's tough for the Texans. That's tough for the Texans with a defense that good, but not good enough to stop Drake May and the Patriots, who had themselves a day. So they are moving on to the AFC Conference Championship. And then moving on down the line to the Broncos and Bills game. What another great game. It started out pretty rough. I was pretty sure the Bills were done for early on because they got down pretty quickly, pretty bad. And Josh Allen was not playing well. They just couldn't get anything going. I didn't really get to watch this game either. I got to see some plays here and there. I was working during it. But Josh Allen again, what did he have, like 4 or 5 picks? Can't do that. You can't do that and expect to win. That's tough to overcome. And they were still there at the end. They were still in it at the end. Obviously there was the controversial, was it a catch, was it an interception? Y'all let me know down in the comments what you think. I would say it was a catch. Especially when you look at the Bears-Rams game, and they had like the exact same thing happen in the Bears-Rams, and they counted that one as a catch. But then was pretty wild. However, with that being said, you can't have the 4 interceptions prior to that one. So that interception was not the reason they lost that game. It came at a very critical time, and unfortunately that was the bigger story of the game. But you can't have the 4 interceptions leading up to that one. If you don't have those, you don't have to worry about being in that situation. So that was tough. I was cheering for the Bills. I'm not surprised they lost. I picked the Broncos to win. I don't think Josh Allen has the receivers around him that are needed. I didn't think he'd be able to get it done on his own, and he had a really bad game. And then, obviously, following the game, the biggest story following that game was Bo Nix breaking his ankle on the third to last play, which, that was bizarre. Sean Payton came back after his press conference and announced it to the group, just about, Bo Nix breaking his ankle and then being out the rest of the season. That was bizarre, and it is very unfortunate for Bo Nix, because he is part of what I like about the Broncos. If you guys have watched my videos a lot, you know my disdain for Sean Payton, and it's because of Sean Payton that I am not cheering for the Broncos, because I do not like him. But I like Bo Nix, and for him to go down like that is just so unfortunate. Awful timing, and I hate it for him. And he played really well in that game. I said in the video last week, when it came to the Texans, the Broncos, and the Seahawks, they all have defenses that can get them a Super Bowl. What it's going to come down to for those teams is the quarterback play. Sam Darnold lived up to it. Bo Nix lived up to it. C.J. Stroud did not live up to it. Bo Nix had a great game. He was looking really good, and doing what he needed to do to get the win. And the fact that we're not going to get to see him continue is really unfortunate. It really is. Now, with that being said, I'm not counting the Broncos out with Jarrett Stidham. I'm not. I think he'll be able to, I think the defense is good enough to where if he can manage the game, if he can be a game manager, they have a shot. If he can manage the game, if he can be a game manager, they have a shot. Now, the other story that is the biggest, I would say the second biggest one, if not overtook that one, is the firing of Sean McDermott, which I'm not surprised they fired Sean McDermott. What I am surprised by is the non-firing of Brandon Beane and the follow-up press conference that took place with Brandon Beane and the owner. And also Brandon Beane not getting fired, but also getting a promotion, to me is bizarre, because in my mind, Brandon Beane is at just as much at fault, if not more so, than Sean McDermott for the team he put together, for the lack of talent he put around Josh Allen. I think there's an argument to be made that the team they had this year was the weakest they've had when it comes to their offense. I know they made the big trade, or it was a trade for Stephon Diggs earlier on, and that was good, but then they let him go and they never replaced him. And they had opportunity. I think they could have gotten Jalen Waddle at the trade deadline. That would have been a huge upgrade for them. Rashid Shaheed were traded, they could have made pushes for guys like that. Anything would have helped the Bills, and they never did. So the fact that Brandon Beam not only didn't get fired but got a promotion is crazy to me, and it really makes me mad because I like Sean McDermott. Now, in my dream world, the Panthers would fire Evero and bring back Sean McDermott as their defensive coordinator. Now, does Sean McDermott want that? Probably no. He wants a head coaching job. Fair enough. Will he get one this cycle? I don't know. The more desirable jobs already taken. I feel like maybe he'd be in consideration for the Raiders job. I'm not really sure. I don't think he'd want to go to Cleveland. That job has been getting, a lot of people have been turning down interviews for that job. So I don't know where he's going to go. He might take the year off and come back next year and have his pick of the litter when it comes to jobs. I think the Steelers job is still open, and that one would be intriguing. I think he'd be really good in Pittsburgh, and I'd kind of like to see him end up in Pittsburgh. If not, come be the defense coordinator for us, dude. I'd love that. I'd love that so much. It's not gonna happen, but anyway, if he's gonna get a head coaching job, I'd like to see him wind up in Pittsburgh. I think he'd be pretty good there, and he'd do well with that city, just like he did well with Buffalo. I think you have two similar fan bases there, between Buffalo and Pittsburgh. So, yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that tangent. It's wild to me. And last thing, the press conference where the owner kept interrupting Brandon Beam and defending Brandon Beam, it just made me dislike that owner so much, and throwing the coaching staff under the bus for the Keon Coleman pick. When their videos started coming out about Brandon Beam talking up Keon Coleman, and Brandon Beam talking about how Keon Coleman was this guy and how he wanted to draft Keon Coleman, and all this stuff, it's bizarre to me, man. It's such a bad look for Buffalo, to the point where I just was like, man, I don't want Buffalo to do well. I want Buffalo to feel just regret this decision. But I also don't want that for Josh Allen, so it's hard. But yeah, I hate it for Bills fans. I hate it for the team, because I feel like they lost a great coach. But the fact that Brandon Beane's still there is wild to me, man. It's wild to me, and I think that opinion is shared by a lot of people. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll be done with that. We will move on to the conference championship picks. So, we'll start over here with the Broncos and Patriots. And both these games are probably the toughest ones I've had to pick between. Each week going into my prediction round, I've had a pretty good feeling of who I thought was going to win. And for the most part, I've been right. I think I got one wrong in total, and that was from the wild card weekend. But this, I feel like, is a toss-up. So the Broncos and Patriots again. I think the Broncos, they have the second best defense. I think the Seahawks have the best defense in the league. I think the Broncos have the second best defense. I think they can give the Patriots a lot of trouble. What it's going to come down to for me is if Jarrett Stidham can be that game manager. And at first, I was siding with the Patriots, but now I'm wondering if Jarrett Stidham is going to have that Nick Foles kind of run and get the Broncos over the hump. He's had some games, and easier schedule. So, I don't think they've faced a team like the Broncos. Man, I think I'm talking myself into the Broncos. I think I'm talking myself into Denver. I'm cheering for the Patriots. I want the Patriots to win. I like Drake May. So I would like for them to win, but I don't know. I might be getting on that Jarrett Stidham train, and I think he can do enough to get them past the Patriots. So, alright. We're going Broncos. We're taking the Broncos. Man, I'm cheering for the Patriots, but we're taking the Broncos to win that one. So, the Broncos, my prediction is the Broncos will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Now moving over to the NFC, Rams versus Seahawks. Rams versus Seahawks. Going into the playoffs, when this all started, if I had to put money on who was going to win the Super Bowl, my pick would have been the Los Angeles Rams. But after watching Seattle against the 49ers and just watching the defense and how dominant they are, and watching the Rams struggle against the Bears and my Carolina Panthers, I think the Seahawks will win. I'm going to take the Seahawks. Again, it all falls on Sam Darnold for me. I'm still waiting for that moment of him, the clock striking midnight, and him collapsing. And that very well could be this weekend when the lights are the brightest for him up to his, like he hasn't had the lights this bright yet in his career. And if he gets past this round, then obviously the Super Bowl would be the next biggest stage for him. But I think that Seahawks defense is just so good, and the way the Rams have been struggling, I think the Seahawks are good enough to where they won't let the Rams back into the game if they struggle early on. The Seahawks get a lead. I think that defense is good enough to just shut them out and not let them back into the game. So, yeah, I'm taking the Seahawks. Cooper Kupp revenge game. It'll be fun to watch. And I think I'm cheering for the Seahawks. I think I'm going to be cheering for the Seahawks, honestly. I like Sam Darnold. For both Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, I wish it worked out here. I wish we had the better coaching staff in place to make it work for them. Matt Rule was not the guy. He was awful. I couldn't stand him. And to see where Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold are now, and to know we had them both in Carolina, it's frustrating. Anyway, I like Cooper Kupp, and yeah, so I'm cheering for the Seahawks. Now, I want the Rams to win the Super Bowl just so I can be able to say the Panthers lost to the best. The Panthers lost to the Super Bowl champs, and it helps me be able to sleep a little bit better at night. But I think the Seahawks will win and represent the NFC, and we will have a Seahawks versus Broncos Super Bowl. Defensive game, defensive battle. So there you have it, guys. We will see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. Don't know if we'll get to watch any of the games. We'll see. It's supposed to be Snowmageddon this weekend. Here in Virginia, we're supposed to get, I don't know, it changes every day. But it's supposed to be real bad Sunday. will see you next week with our Super Bowl predictions. Well, I don't know if I might post Nick. Well, yeah, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do my posting schedule. My wife and I leave for South Korea next Friday, so a week from today, we'll be in the air on our way to South Korea, and we will get back Super Bowl Sunday. So we'll be landing. We're supposed to be landing back in Virginia as the game starts. So I'll be very jet lagged watching the Super Bowl, but hopefully I can still be home in time to watch it. However, I don't know what that's going to mean for posting, but I will record a prediction recap video and then a prediction video all in one. I just don't know when I'll post it, but it will be posted at some point. Anyway, that's enough. Y'all take care. Hope you guys have a good weekend. If you are getting winter weather, stay safe. Stay safe.